Okay, I guess we're ready to go. It's just after 6:30. Thank you, everyone, for participating this evening on this beautiful May night. And just an overview of our agenda. We have a very distinguished Mr. Ballard here to speak with us from Calusa Land Trust. The meeting minutes, we'll talk about that a little bit, and then the rest of it is pretty much status quo. We do have some information from the feedback that was given in January. We did go through all of that on the board and just have some follow-up on that as well. So, a few reminders as normal. Please make sure your cell phones are muted, and if you do need a conversation, to please take it to the different room. And with that, Mr. Ballard, we do have your slides here, so. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, good evening, everybody. They asked me to come and give you kind of an update on where we are with the Calusa Land Trust on the island. So I came here and tried to give you an update. It's been a couple years since I've been out here to tell you about the land trust, so I'll give you a little update of where we are at this point, and hopefully you can see where we are and feel free to help us along with some of the projects we got going. So a little history of the land trust. Basically, we were founded in 1976 by 4 people on Calusa Island out off of Jug Creek. They wanted to save the island and protect it from future development, and they created a land trust at that point called Calusa Island Trust and Nature Preserve of Pine Island. And basically it was 30-some acres, which is the west side of Calusa Island. And in about 1989, it became incorporated into a 501c nonprofit organization and increased their membership from 4 people to about 300 people. And it grew for a while over the next few years. But right now we have roughly 2,400 acres on or adjacent to Pine Island. Most of it is mangroves, but we do have some uplands that we're trying to protect now. The initial objective was to try to protect the mangrove around the island to keep it from being developed like Cape Coral. And we've been successful to have probably 3/4 of the mangroves around Pine Island protected. So now we're focusing on uplands. When I say uplands, I mean natural uplands. We're not interested in buying palm farms and trying to reclaim them. That's just too expensive for us, our little organization. And we're all volunteers in this organization, no paid staff in this little group. Kind of, when we talk to other land trusts, they're just amazed that we do so much with no paid staff. If you look at Sanibel Captiva, they have like 18 paid staff in their organization. So we do a lot here on the island. So basically our mission statement is to protect the natural diversity and beauty of Pine Island. We acquire, preserve, advantage environmentally sensitive, historical, and archaeological important sites, and we foster the appreciation for and understanding of the environment and our past through educational activities that we do. This is kind of an overview of all the preserves on Pine Island. As Calusa Land Trust preserves are in green. And if you look at this map, you'll see that most of them are along the mangroves with some uplands. We have about 8 preserves that are open for like walking trails and stuff. So we started in 1976. This year is our 50th anniversary. We just had a big celebration back in March, a big picnic at Fritz Park, which is one of our facilities that's open to the public to use. And we had about 300 people show up for the barbecue stuff there and activities there, and it was really a good event. Glad to see people came out. Right now we're on a membership drive this year. We're trying to increase our membership from the 200 and some we started with this year, and we're got objective sites of maybe 1,000 people. Does that sound like a lot of people? Well, the island has roughly 8,566 people, full-time residents, and we're only asking for 1,000 of you to join. So that doesn't sound like it's out of whack, but it does help us. And why does it help us? Well, the $25 annual membership that you pay every year helps us maintain those 8 properties that cost us about $118,000 a year to maintain. And so that money goes into that. But more importantly, the number of members that we have that we can show that are members of this organization help us when we apply for grant money. The one thing that I'd like to see is what kind of community support you have. And if we have a big membership, it helps us show that the island is really behind us. You know, a lot of people say, oh, we like what you're doing, but that don't help us when we try to get these membership. We need to have your membership signed up on our dockets. So grant is an important thing. And recent grants that we've got, Lee County Electric Co-op is a very supportive group for us. They've got several signs. The latest ones we got are Taylor Whittle Lake Preserve off of Alcorn Street by the Catholic Church. And you can see these signs are, if you look at them close, are really beautiful, well done signs. They hold up really well. And not only on the left is the basic preserve sign that tells you about the preserve, but then throughout the preserve we have different interpretive signs tell you about the ecology of the area, whether it's pine forest or hardwoods or mangroves, and it gives you a description of the birds and stuff, animals you'll see at that point, and they're all throughout the preserve. And if you haven't been to this preserve, you should. It's one of the nicest preserves we have on the island right now to walk. And it is a natural nature trail. It is not a paved trail. It's a rough, kind of a rough walking trail, but it's a beautiful trail to walk through and see what's there. Lee County Electric Co-op just helped us with the event we had a couple weeks ago now, called the Children's Story Walk at the Wygert Barren Preserve up off Barrancas Avenue. That was an effort to celebrate Gopher Tortoise Day. That preserve has probably 25 gopher tortoise burrows in it. It's a big colony in it. And we thought that was an appropriate place to hold this event. And thanks to Ellen Ballard over here, she put together this story walk from a book called Gus the Gopher Tortoise. And it's a story book that you actually post the story along the trail and the kids can walk around it. And we had a pretty good turnout. Unfortunately, it conflicted with the Bobby Holloway fishing tournament that weekend. That kind of took it away from us, but we still had a good turnout, and people really enjoyed what they saw. The recent purchase we just got across from the post office in Bokeelia called the Chipley Sand Patch Preserve. It's a piece of property that's been in the Chipley family since 1915. 110 years it's been in this family. And I've known the 3 generations that's lived in that property. We were able to buy it from them, and now we're in the process of preserving that and kind of recreating what it was. We're not going to do everything, but this is what the homestead looked like after it was abandoned in 1984. Now that's gone. It's nothing but the poster on our property now. On the left is what it looked like before we got started. On the right is what it's looked like now. We got all the underbrush and down trees and stuff cleared out, and it's starting to look pretty good. Whoop. There we go. So this is an overview of what it looked like before. On the left is what it looked like before from an overview. On the right is what it looks like now. We got a lot of that underbrush and stuff cleared out, opening it up. We're trying to take all of the non-native stuff out and leave the native stuff where we can to make it as native as possible. But again, what we have to do is replant a lot of stuff too, and that's the vision we have going forward here. So on the left is the water cistern for the house. before we started, and on the right is what it looks like now when we got it cleared around it. And the homestead is actually on the right-hand side in the right-hand photo of the water cistern. So one of the recent grants we just received is from Lee County Electric Co-op again to create one of those nice signs that you saw before. This is what we have now as a temporary sign, but they'll create a nice sign with the history and some more details of what you can find on the preserve as far as critters go. So by the numbers, this is what we got off that lot so far. 6,144 pounds of trash. It was a dumping ground for years. To date, we have 280 volunteer hours working on that property. We've contracted people to come in and help us do some of the heavy stuff, 14 days, and that's about $23,000. Part of that was a grant money that we got from CHNEP to help do that. And the total restoration cost to date is $24,405. And that's on to do phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3, 4, and 5 are up to come yet. So one of the other projects that the Land Trust is coming up in the near future, we need to finish the pattern and build the Cody Pierce Memorial Bench at the St. Jude Trail down in St. James. If you've been down that, it's a nice overlook of the St. James Creek. And on the left-hand side, you see that little path over to the right there. That's where the bench is going to go. And then from the back, you'll see that's what the view of the bench looking out. Cody Pierce was one of the water keepers, and he just loved the water, so we thought that was an appropriate place to put a bench in his memorial. So I'm just trying to finish the pattern for the bench to go in there right now, and in a couple of weeks we'll have that done. And the Calusa water keepers have donated some money to help do this project. Okay. Taylor Willow Lake. We just finished some installation of some trail markers, the signs you saw before, but not now. We got some trail markers that we need to put up in there. We haven't done those yet, but what you'll see in the bottom left is what we're looking at to designate the trails that you see on the map on the right. There's 3 different trails in that preserve, and what we're trying to do is mark them well so people don't get lost when they're in there. Bigger projects, though, is remove some of the invasive trees on that island or on that preserve. There are a lot of invasive trees that volunteers we just can't keep up with, so we need to hire a contractor to come in and take out a lot of the invasive Brazilian peppers and earleaf acacias that's on that property. And a lot of Java plums are in that property also. And then we'd like to also, looking at the bottom of that section where the trails stop, there's a little piece in there. We could open up another trail down in to get that bottom part, which I'd like to do at some point. So Chippy Sand Patch, the upcoming phase 3 and 4 is create the walking path, which I kind of did today. I laid it out. And we got a consultation with the native plant company from out East Fort Myers to come and help us look at some native plants to plant back in that preserve and create it a nicer preserve than what it is right now. And then we need to design an actual location of how we're going to do that along the trail. And the idea is that we'll make that kind of a garden walk, and we'll have themes along the garden walk that would be native plant, but there'll be themes of native plants along the garden walk. When people make that path, we'll be able to see different things. And then we also need to improve the walking path. So the idea is to bring some fill in and make a solid walking path versus all the chip stuff that's there now, which is pretty rough. And then we located the old chicken coops there because it was a chicken farm back in the 50s. It was the biggest chicken farm in Lee County back in those days, doing 250 eggs, a dozen eggs a week. And we found the old coop, which is on the ground now, but we'd like to lay it out and document where it is so that people can walk by and get an idea of what it used to look like. So what can you do to help us? Well, first thing is either become a new member or renew your membership. The renewal is due January 1st of every year. We went to an annual thing to make it easier for us to trying to keep people all through the year when their dues were due to come to us, or their memberships. You can donate to the land trust, either your land if you have land, and we have people who donated lots. We don't really care to have building lots, but people donate them to us sometimes, and we turn around and resell them unless there's something in there that's really worth protecting. Like we're looking at one now in St. James, potentially. It's a small lot, but it's got like 20-some gopher tortoise burrows in that small lot. And we figure that's worth trying to save if we can. But you can also volunteer at our monthly work fund parties. And we have one coming up this weekend, weekend at St. Jude Trail down in St. James, where we're going to be cleaning the invasive trees along the main road there. The Brazilian peppers are kind of taken over since we've done it about 3 years ago. So we got to go in and try to clean those up again. Or you can help us with the CLT events. So we have several events going on a year, and we'd always need volunteers to help us with those events if you can do that. So it all helps us go forward here. How can you follow us? Well, you can follow us on the web page, calusalandtrust.org, on Facebook at Calusa Land Trust, and the Calusa Land Trust newsletter. If you're a member, you can get it either mailed to you, or you can get it online, which is the best way of doing it. And the Pine Island Eagle, we have announcements all the time about what's going on with the Land Trust in the Pine Island Eagle, so it's another way to keep in track of us. So, we're working to save some of Pine Island for tomorrow. We're trying to keep the pine in Pine Island and not turn it into Palm Farm or Palm Island. So that's what we're trying to do, and we appreciate your help if you can help us. Any questions? Yes.
On that Taylor Willow,
Yep.
is that lake still there?
There's a willow lake. There's a willow lake in the beginning on the left-hand side. I think the one you're talking about is on the southern end, which is the one that the mangrove grove tried to fill in one time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not on our property. We go up to it, but it's not on our property. It's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard years ago that
Yeah. Filled it in, yeah. And I think they had to dig it out or something, but not sure.
That wasn't, that they didn't fill in that lake. You're saying that the lake that's on the preserve, it wasn't?
No, the lake on the preserve is not filled in. Yeah, it's a willow lake along the preserve. It actually is not on our property, but our fence runs right along the edge of it. And our sign is right on the edge showing the willow lake. So you can see the willow lake from our trail.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Little question about Little Pine Island, how the state became involved in that and why?
Well, the history I know about it is there was a development group on San Rafael Captiva called the Mariner Group, Southeast Plantation, that wanted to do a lot of things over there. And the county, they made a deal. Whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, I don't know. It's a good deal for us because what it did is wind up preserving Little Pine Island. Bad deal for whoever's on Sanibel, unfortunately. But they started getting mitigation credits. So we can do something bad over here if we can do something good over here. And that's kind of what happened. And that's where Little Pine Island is what it is right now. So it's good for us.
I have a question, Bob. Can you explain how you interact or follow or the 2020 conservation?
Yes, we work closely with the 2020 organization because, again, we're a small group. Our funds are limited. We can't buy expensive properties. We don't have that kind of resources to do that. As is like the 58-acre piece across from the Winn-Dixie over here. The Land Trust has been working with that owner for about 9 years now. I've been working with that owner about 9 years to try to preserve that property. We could never work out a deal money-wise to buy it. They wanted top dollar for it. We don't have $2.7 million to buy the property. It's out of our whack. So what we did is we worked with the landowners to go to 2020 with the application to submit it for 2020 to purchase it. They didn't know how to do that, so we volunteered to help them do that and help them with the paperwork and the hearings. We go to the hearings and speak in favor of it and stuff. The good news is it's in the final stages of being purchased right now. I just talked to the owners a week ago, and they're just ironing out the little details in the contract where the county has a boilerplate contract about what you got to be off the property where you buy it and all this stuff. Doesn't apply to this here. And I've worked with the owners. I said, just tell them it's not on there. Take it out. And so they're doing that and cleaning up the contract. So it's getting close. The price has been settled. The county's ready to buy it, but that's basically, we work with other ones. Yeah. So we're also working, I got a call from Mike Shevlin the other day. He owns that 38-acre piece or brokering it next to this property. And he wanted help with 2020, so I helped him with the application for 2020 to help purchase that. 2020 has availability of a lot of money, a lot more than what we have. And if we can get it that way, Pine Island supposedly is being protected. How long will it be protected? You know, the county owns it. The county can change their mind at any time. But hopefully, going for a long time, it'll be protected. That's the goal, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. Can you talk, Bob, a little bit about how you fund yourself? I know you charge $25 in memberships, but you do some other things too.
Yeah, well, we used to have fundraising, two big fundraising events a year. We had the rubber duck race, which would raise about $36,000 for that day, but it cost us about $22,000 to put it together. So it's a lot of work, and you get about 1/3 of what you put into it. That was the biggest money raiser. The other one was a yard sale we had shortly after the annual meeting in January, and that would raise another couple $1,000s. Those were our two money-raising events that we have. We sell shirts like this here that brings in a little income, but not a lot. We have the Nature Lovers Guide of Pine Island. If you don't have one, you'd like to see a really nice put-together piece of literature for the island. It talks about the plants, talks about the animals, talks about the history, all in one little thing, and we sell that for $20. And it's a good introduction to what's on Pine Island, and that's available for sale. We have clotheslines, and we go to these different events and present these shirts and stuff we have, the different things we have to sell. That brings a little income. But a lot of the stuff comes from donations. We have some very generous donations, people giving us quite a substantial amount of money occasionally that has helped us a lot. We're a long ways from where we were back in the 1990s when we were scrapping and borrowing and begging for money. We're not begging for money right now, but we are not really rich either. So we invest a lot of our money. When we can't buy property, we have an investment group that are following the money and trying to invest it in things that we can take that money and use it. We don't want to be a big cash cow, but we want to try to earn money where we can that will save us from a lot of these activities that we have to do. Anything else?
Have regular meetings as well?
Yes, we meet once a month from October through June. It's the third Tuesday of every month down at the Episcopal Church, 3 p.m. We have our meeting every month. And then we have the work parties the second Saturday of every month at one of the preserves, and you can follow that in the Eagle or on the Facebook page or whatever, and it tells you where we're going to have it. We usually have about 22 to 30 volunteers help us on those days. We get a lot done in 3 hours. We only work 3 hours. And then probably one of the biggest costs, we feed people pizza afterwards. And appreciation for people helping us out. But we get a lot of invasive plants cleared or trails cleaned up or parks cleaned up in those 3 hours. So we do a lot in a short time. How you join tonight? See me and I'll give you the contacts to do it. It's easy. You can do it online or we can get you an application form and you can do it. Yeah. You know, I'm a native Pine Islander, and I'm probably one of the few native Pine Islanders that's involved in this, believe it or not. When I came back here after being gone for a while, it hurt me to see what was going on, and I got involved with this organization, and I like what they're doing, and they're really interested. We're not trying to stop development. You can't stop development, but we really do what we can to protect what we can naturally. There's a lot of building lots available without clearing off pine trees and palmettos. So we should be focusing on what's available versus trying to strip the land and make something else out of it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Deb, you'll transition us back to our slides, and I think the next, so the minutes were sent out in email. Do we want to ask for, you had sent, well, no, they went in the email from
Nadine.
right, yeah.
And they were posted,
Yeah,
so you should just be asking. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Any opposed? Okay, that takes care of that. Okay, so I talked earlier so in January, for anyone who participated, we collected all of the information that we heard, and we went through it, and this is what we've come up with, the top areas that we knew that we could maybe address and or have already started addressing. So the water quality concerns, we have that on our agenda for both June and August. And I think it will just be something that we continue to monitor. And if we get confirmation again from Commissioner for September, we will ask him again and see what he has to say then about it. And then there was a question about transparency on the post-hurricane funding. And since that came about, the county has put out this website. I don't know if anybody has looked at it, but it's called the Sand Dollar Snapshot. And it's hosted by the Comptroller's Office, and they have complete transparency on how they're spending funds. It's very detailed, it's very involved, but if you want to find out how the dollars are being spent, that is a really good resource. And then our next point about representation and advocacy, we also feel very strongly and are looking at hopefully setting up some regular meetings and trying to get in front of the state representative in addition to the commissioner. So hopefully we can get that accomplished. And the last one was about development and planning, which Steve started last November, and heading that up with his team. So I think from what we saw, these were the main ones that were something, like I said, that we had some type of control or information on. If there's anything else that anyone feels that we missed, please also just continue to provide suggestions. Ellen? Can you go under Sand Dollar Snapshot, Lee County Comptroller? I thought that I copied that the way it showed. I was on it, so it did work. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I thought that's what it said. So we can get that clarified, though, if you can't. You said you got it, Carol?
Yeah.
Oh, she said it came up.
It's under,
Yeah.
Sand Dollar Snapshot, Lee County, and it came right up.
Okay.
It's in the first window.
What's the URL on it? So it is leeclerk.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the problem is a lot of times when you work on the Lee County website, it'll shorten up to leeclerk.org, and then if you click on it again, there's this really big
Oh,
thing that you need to have.
okay.
So yeah, sometimes that summary.
I used it. I don't know.
That's
That's where I was, yeah, for sure. But anyway, you should be able to get to it that way. Like I said, it was very informative, a lot of good information there. Any other questions or comments on that? And again, thank you to everyone who provided feedback. We do appreciate that. Okay, we're doing our agenda a little bit different tonight, only because we didn't think Steve would be back so quickly. So we put his at the end. So tomorrow is the road cleanup at 8 a.m., if anyone can help out there. And then we have the lovely Ms. Scott here to provide us some updates from Matt Lachey. I know you have a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
Thank you. So here are some updates that are happening at Matt Lachey. There's resurfacing at the Matt Lachey Park, May 11th through the 13th, and the park will be closed at those days, so don't launch the boat there. The park also has finished the split rail fencing, and there are sections of the park you cannot park there any longer. You need to park in the designated areas. And they've actually put new boulders around and new mulch. They're sprucing up the park nicely. There's a new roof going on our pavilion with new picnic tables. So that's what's happening in our park. The Matt Lachey artists all got together, and if you are leaving the island, on the right-hand side is the post office building. The Matt Lachey artists got together and did a mural, and it's celebrating Matt Lachey 100 years, 1926, 2026, and it's a very pretty mural. Each artist painted a fish, and then the fish are making a pattern of a giant fish. It's very pretty. And you should get your picture taken with it. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Safe and Resilient Matt Lachey. We have a new crosswalk crossing, so you don't have to play chicken any longer. And they put it at the Blue Dog intersection. That's Island Avenue and Pine Island Road. And we also have a new flashing speed limit sign at D&D to slow the traffic down, because people were coming in pretty quick, pretty fast. And they did install it at the Yucatan? Okay, and they told me they were putting a second one in, but I didn't know where it was. It's right at Yucatan, so good. Let's see, there's also road resurfacing on Matt Lachey, which would be through our commercial area. It'll be west of the drawbridge to east of the Little Pine Island Bridge. So watch your traffic patterns for that. And that's going to happen May 13th through May 15th. Wink News came to Matt Lachey, and they did one of their specials called Wink Listens. And a lot of the community came out and was interviewed by the Wink team. And they took their questions and information, and they'll go back and try to do some detective work and investigate on some questions that the community would like to have solved. Okay, this is the big and exciting news I've been dying to tell you all night. The old fish house has been purchased. Yay! And it's purchased by someone who loves Matt Lachey. So it is a local. I think the closing will be May 7th, so I don't really quite want to say who it is, but I think you guys will be very pleased. It was already, they didn't waste any time. They've started cleanup if you've gone by. A lot of the weeds have been growing up, and vines up on the building. You couldn't see the mural of the two fishermen. That's all, and some of that's all been cut back. The back of the place has already started cleaning, and they started to gut the inside. The new owners are working in full cooperation with the Lee County Historic Preservation Board, Florida DEP, and Lee County for restoration and remodeling. Let's see, the goal of the new owners is to make it clean, safe, and resilient. And already they have some restaurants who have come forward and have expressed interest. So it's not that they would sell it, but they would rent it. So we have some businesses that may be coming in and help us preserve Old Florida. The building, right now, their vision is to keep the building as it is. So, and from what I understand, the building was built with the cinder blocks, and it's a little fortress. The doors are a little banged up, windows are banged up, but the building in itself is in good shape. Yeah, it's pretty solid. So we're very excited about that. And so we're excited for this owner because we know that this owner will love this building and this property, and we can have events there like we used to in the old days where the Matlacha Hookers would have events, Matlacha Civic would have events. So there are still some things in the horizon that we can keep within our community. And also coming up is we want to make an announcement that the Calusa Waterkeepers will be doing a vertical oyster garden on June 20th. It's a Saturday at our Matlacha Park. And come and learn about vertical oysters gardens, and they're asking for a $30 per person donation, but it'll be a fun workshop. We're looking forward to having Sue is going to be our instructor. Yes, and our next Matlacha Civic Association meeting, in case you folks are interested, will be on June 1st because it normally falls on the last Monday of every month, but we're celebrating Memorial Day weekend. So happy Memorial Day to everyone and your families. And then also, we are now in the new Civic building in the park. Last month was our first meeting that we held within the building, and it's quite nice. New floors, new walls, new ceiling, new lighting, new electric. You name it, they got it to the studs, and it turned out as a beautiful building. So we're very happy to host you guys. Come and see us. That's everything on Matlacha these days. Thank you.
I noticed where that moving company is,
Yes.
that there's U-Haul trucks parked there quite a bit. Is that something that's permitted?
I don't know. I can find out. I definitely will. Yeah, it's not a good look. No, we don't want that. That's especially at the gateway. It's not very pretty.
And they're the big ones.
Correct. Some of us have met with businesses and the county, and we're trying to get some cooperation together as far as bringing in some new vegetation and kind of green the island up a little bit. It's very sparse. As you remember, when you would come around D&D and then past Shoreline Drive, and then you would see all the houses that were there, and they were just loaded with vegetation, hibiscus trees and bananas and coconut trees. So we're trying to, not that we would have that we're there right away, but we're trying to work on some more vegetation, bringing it into even our downtown and commercial area. Any questions?
Carol?
Yes. Hi, John.
What's the status of the old Chinese and Vietnamese?
Yes. Okay, so the old faux noodle place, it has, if you look on it, it has paperwork, documents in blue tape outline, and that is markings that the county has deemed that, and it has been approved for demolition. Now, if you remember, the Matlacha Civic Association followed with the county the demolition of the big brown crooked building and the cement building, and we pushed for those all together with that Asian or faux building. They immediately took down the first two, and this one is in the second round, as they call it. It was just deemed as of March 20th, prepare for demolition, but we learned, even though they say prepare for demolition, that means bids have to go out. That's 30 days. Bids are returned, 30 days. Bids are reviewed by attorney, 30 days. Bids are approved, 30 days. Bids are sent to the commissioners. So in all honesty, I'm really looking at maybe a Christmas gift. Yeah. But then I did say to the county last year, hey, where's my Christmas present? And that didn't happen till January. So that's okay. It'll be happening soon. It is prepare for demo.
When will Bert's Bar reopen?
The question is, when will Bert's Bar reopen?
I'm thirsty.
I know. And I'm waiting for some good music. I don't know. That I don't know. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Very much. Okay, the only other, a couple of things on here, just Mango Mania is set at Winn-Dixie again for Saturday, July 11th. And our Civic Association will be present there as well again this year. And then we did see in the recent agenda for the commissioners that they have approved some resurfacing May 13th to the 15th in the Pineland area. So if anyone is in that area and wants to know about that, those are the streets that they're going to be looking at.
And it's not true just because Nadine lives on Clubhouse Drive that that's all getting done.
Is Clubhouse on? Oh, yeah, it sure
Yeah, it
is.
is.
Okay. All right, Steve.
Coincidence.
Oh, yeah, right.
Great. So we'll go through the financials fairly quickly here. I guess I'm going to come over this way. Maybe I'll be outside of the picture, but at any rate, so I can look at it. So we had a income for the month of April. So this is just for the last month of $172, and we had a couple of expenses that totaled $325. So our net loss was $153.10 for the month. We had, I forget, 89, 99, so about $110 worth of interest, and we had $50, $65 worth of membership. So I try and break it down between how much is from the membership and how much is from the interest that we earn on our investment portfolio. So on a year-to-date basis, you can see our income, interest income, and then our membership dues. We had a donation around the time that we did the seedlings, the pine seedlings. So we had total income for the first 4 months of the year of $1,927. We have total expenses of $1,254. So a net income of roughly $675. Our three biggest expenses, obviously, are the facilities rental. You know, we've talked about this every month, but we pay them $100 to use this facility. It's a great facility for us to be meeting in. And we have Constant Contact, which is what we use to communicate our newsletters and so forth. And Nadine uses that pretty extensively. And I just ended up paying the first of our two insurances. So it was directors, officers, liability insurance. And I think that was $825, and that typically is our biggest expense of the year. And I just paid that. It's not showing here because it was in the month of May that I ended up paying that. So that's on a year-to-date. That's year-to-date through April. And then finally, there we go. Okay. So one of the things that we talked about at our last board meeting, and I've been talking about for a long period of time, is we're running balances of $10,000 to $15,000 every month. And the board required me to keep a balance at a minimum of $10,000 in available cash. And so at times we were running $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000. And what I had suggested, and I told the membership kind of every month, is that I was working to set up the investments so that we literally have investments maturing every month. And once we got that in place, then we could begin taking our cash balance down. So as the board started looking at it, you know, we had a maturity in April. We've got a couple, three in May now. We've got a couple in June, July, August, September, and October. And I'll make an investment sometime probably this week in November. So we've got literally money coming due every month for the next 6 months. And so it gave us the ability to discuss as a board taking our minimum of $10,000 down. And so we took an interim step, and they have lowered that number to $7,000 is the balance that I need to go ahead and keep in sort of liquid cash. So that would be in our checking accounts, our money market accounts, and the small amount of box cash that we have for memberships and so forth. So we reduced it by, you know, from 10,000 to 7,000, and we'll kind of see how it goes. I think my long-term goal would be to maybe take it down to $5,000, and then we'll just kind of keep going from there. And again, the other thing that we have been trying to accomplish, or that I have been trying to accomplish, is I did a bit of a study, I don't know, 6 months ago when we started in the Treasury Direct program with the federal government, where we're buying Treasury bills. The deal is that the Treasury market is current market rates, you know, established by the market. And what we were finding is we'd go to the banks and we'd ask, you know, we'd want to get a CD from them, a 6-month CD, and that's not a market established rate, it's whatever the bank wants to pay you. And what we found out is we were earning slightly less than 1% less if we bought a certificate of deposit on average than if we went to Treasury Direct. And so we have slowly over time sort of flipped our CD portfolio, and as they mature, we're going into the Treasury Direct portfolio. And we can't buy treasuries longer than a year, so we're keeping it relatively short. But it ends up that we're earning roughly 1% more than we would have earned if we just were buying CDs from the banks. And again, because the bank can charge you, and you can go to any bank you want to go to, but you know, we didn't want to have to go to 30 or 40 banks to get the best rate. It was just easier to go to the Treasury market where it's established by the market. And so it's you know, over the long haul, it's going to mean a bit more in interest income, which is exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. So I think the portfolio's in pretty good shape now in terms of maturities over the next 6 months. I'm going to try and up the sizes so that we have about $10,000 maturing every month. And that, once I get that established, I think that will allow us maybe to kick from $7,000 down to $5,000 in terms of balance that we need to have. And if you weren't here last month, we actually had CPA review our financials, gave us a clean bill of health, sort of followed through all of the transactions for 2025. And so we do that every year. We brought that before the general membership last month. So that's kind of all I'll say about that. I'm happy to answer questions if there are any. No? Okay, great. So, development and zoning. I come saddened today because I have to tell all of you that if you haven't followed it, you know, I've led the whole charge around the Bokeelia Tower, the cell phone tower. And we had our second defeat on just about a week ago, maybe a little bit more, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, where the hearing examiner ruled against us and essentially said, yeah, it should be built right where they want to build it, which is, in my estimation, wasn't the right decision, but you know, I have to abide by it. So at this stage of the game, where are we? We've had the county planner come in and say, put it, you know, give the people that want to put the cell phone tower, give them all the rights they asked for, give them all the variances, give them all the height exceptions, blah, blah, blah. And he turned that over to the hearing examiner, and the hearing examiner took 5 weeks and came back and said, give them everything they wanted. You know, give them the height exception, give them all the variances they wanted, and justified all of that. Now, so, I have to slow down because it makes me mad. The reality is that we are now contemplating whether we want to actually hire a lawyer to represent us with the not against, but represent us at the Board of County Commissioners. So the one little caveat is that if you're looking for a zoning or variance exception like the applicant was doing, the telecommunications section of the Land Development Code is one of the only sections of the code that allows you to actually appeal the decision to the Board of County Commissioners. It's one little section at the very bottom of it, but if it were any other thing and they're asking for a variance or zoning, the hearing examiner is the last thing, and that's the end of the story. And, you know, from my perspective, I have a person working on the committee with me, thank you to Lee, who actually wrote Kevin Ruane and said, you know, what can we do next? And Kevin's executive assistant wrote back and said, I talked to the county attorney, and the county attorney says that the hearing examiner's decision is final and it can't be appealed at all, which is absolutely incorrect and false. So I got to deal with that tomorrow. I've got to call them and try and get that squared away, because they don't even know their own damn code. Yeah, believe it or not. And I know it's absolutely true. I've seen it myself. So so I got to get that cleared up so that they understand it. And then what we have to do is we as a group have to figure out if we really think we have a chance of having all this work that's been done by the county and the hearing examiner overturned by the Board of County Commissioners. So hang on, Elaine. So the reality is we're going to have a discussion with the lawyer who is well known in Fort Myers and is a very good land attorney, and have him sort of tell us whether he thinks we have a case. I think there are things that I saw in the hearing examiner's decision that are debatable in terms of how she interpreted things. So I don't know whether the lawyer's going to think the same thing or not, but if he gives us a good chance at it, then we will probably employ him and ask him to represent us in front of the Board of County Commissioners. If he says, you know what, yeah, maybe some of these things are interpretable and she chose one side, but you know, you could look at it the other way, we may just end up saying that's the end of the story. But we can certainly go to the Board of County Commissioners and could lose that too. And the last and final phase is that you can go to circuit court and you can sue the county. But that's where, you know, that's where the applicant, who's a corporation, would go to if by chance the Board of County Commissioners decided in our favor. But as individuals, you know, it's going to be $75,000 or $80,000 to sue in circuit court, Lee County. And so we're going to stop somewhere along here. We may get dragged into circuit court potentially if the Board of County Commissioners, if we went to them and they decided, yeah, you know, we're going to rule in favor. I still say that they would be hard-pressed to look at their county planner who said do it, and then their hearing examiner who said do it, to then turn around and say, well, we know we have these employees that said, you know, interpreted and said you should do it, that we're going to say, no, you shouldn't. So I don't know. We're sort of between a rock and a hard place. It does not look good. This is the 9th inning, and yeah, we're down by 6 runs. Yeah. Go ahead, Elaine. Speak up if you don't mind, please, just so.
You know, when I was at the meeting 2 months ago, I went and researched the company that's putting the tower in, and they have sued 2 cities who did not want the towers, and I was very concerned about it. I totally back you in what you want to do, but I am concerned. They sued a city in Indiana, they sued a city up in Tampa, because they fought with the towers. So
Yeah.
they're very litigious.
Did they win those?
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah. And the problem is, you know, let's just be clear about it. Because you know, as I've gone through this whole process, I've talked to neighbors in my neighborhood who are like, I don't give a damn if they put a tower there. It's no big deal. I just want better cell phone coverage. That's all I care about. So do we. And I still say that I want this tower. And like I said when I was quoted in the Eagle, the reality is having a cell phone tower and having good service on that end of the island by 2 or 3 providers is great for all of us, because then you have competition. You have 3 good providers, and then you can sort of, who gives me the better service, who gives me the better price, all of that. At this stage of the game, they testified to the fact, AT&T and T-Mobile, who are the 2 primary people that are going to start out on this tower, said, we have terrible coverage in Bokeelia. So, you know, the only person that gives us sort of what we want is if you go to Verizon. But if we could have 3 people that sort of give us the same level of service, then you can actually choose the provider and choose whether they give you good service and price. So we want the tower. We just don't think this is the appropriate place.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
so
that's exactly right. And so, but the first thing that the hearing examiner came out with was, well, you know, state and federal regulation don't really allow us to disapprove of a cell phone tower being placed. Well, we're not asking it not to be done. We're asking it to be done in another location. And
My
that's a
question.
nuance that makes a difference.
Yeah, because isn't that what the variance or exception was for, is that that is the only place that
Yeah.
it could go?
Yep, yep.
Which they really
That's
didn't
not true.
address that.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. So, at any rate, we're going to know in the next 4 or 5 days whether we're going to pursue this to the Board of County Commissioners. We'll have a conference call. We'll make a determination as to whether there's a chance. If officially there is a chance and we decide we want to go, you have to file a form with the county and just say, you know, we want to appeal to the Board of County Commissioners. You kind of have to put, you know, some of the reasons that you might argue, and then ship it off, and they'll schedule a meeting and so forth. But, you know, in the interim, I've got to end up getting the county attorney, who doesn't know the truth, to get him on board so that he understands that it is something where we can appeal. So that's one. I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about, well, there's a lot of, you know, over the past couple of months, I've talked about a lot of different projects, obviously, and they're all kind of in a variety of different paths. We're trying to get some more information on Bokeelia Point, but are struggling. That's out, you know, that's out where old Captain Conj used to be. And there's just so much information, misinformation. We're not sure what's true, what's not true. But we're really trying to work on that and try and get that figured out the best we possibly can. I think the one thing that Chris brought up to me just today is that she took a picture of a for sale sign that's at Maria Drive. So all of you are aware that Maria Drive, they were trying to rezone that, right? And put a project right there on the corner. And apparently, they rezoned it to commercial, and now it looks like they're just going to sell the property. So they got it to a higher level so that they could essentially earn more money on it, and now they've decided we're not going to do what we want to do, we're just going to go ahead and sell the property. And that's the second piece of property that we've seen where that's happened, where they've gotten it rezoned, and instead of doing what they said they were going to do, now all of a sudden the property's for sale. So we've got to do some looking into that. As I said, I don't really think that we can stop people from doing exactly that, but what we really want to make sure of is, okay, they rezoned it to commercial, and they had this whole project that they wanted to do. Now all of a sudden they sell the property. Do they need to come back to the county and say, this is what we want to do with the property? You know, I guess if, in theory, they did exactly what the first people got approved, which is we're going to put, you know, surface parking and a couple of other things on there. If they did exactly that, then maybe they wouldn't have to come back. But if they decide they want to put a McDonald's there, hopefully they do have to come back and they have to say something to the county. Just because they have a development order doesn't mean they can just pretty much do whatever they want to do, hopefully. So we're going to have to verify that and sort of see what's going on there. Everybody's up to speed on the fact that Alden Pines was sold, right? So, you know, from what I can tell, they're going to be back, try and be in business with 9 holes by the end of the year. Back 9, yeah, they're making the front 9 the back 9?
Well,
Is that?
starting with the back nine, because it was the easiest part to restore.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah. Here you go, Ellen. Or there, yeah, that's fine.
I understand that Jug Creek had a HEX hearing a couple weeks ago.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah,
I wasn't able to go. Is anybody?
yeah, I was. And it was a fiasco. A fiasco.
Surprise, surprise,
Yes.
surprise.
Yes. Unbelievable. So, Jug Creek had a hearing, and the hearing was not for their new application. The hearing was just for a violation. They have 6 or 7 violations on that property. And I'm not going to go into them because I'm not sure if it'd be, I tell people personally, but publicly, they just got a lot of them. And so Peter Balderston and I decided that we were going to go down on Monday morning. We got up at 7:30, left here, and went all the way down there for a hearing on this violation, and got down there only to be told that there was a meeting on Friday at Jug Creek, and that the meeting had been postponed. The hearing had been postponed. So there Peter and I are an hour and 15 minutes there, hour and 15 minutes back, and it got postponed. So I actually called Becky Swigert, who was here last month, and chatted with her a little bit. It was complicated by the fact that there is actually a place where you can go and you can get the agendas for all of these hearings, all of these violation hearings, except it wasn't working. So, had it worked, we would have seen the meeting was postponed. It was not on the agenda. We would have asked some questions, but because it wouldn't work, and I had called them a month before and said it wasn't working, and they fixed it temporarily, and then it didn't work again, and it's still not working. Peter and I are in contact with IT at Lee County like every day now. They say, oh, it's your cache, and it's your Nope. It's whether you're using Safari or you're using Chrome or whatever. Yeah, so and it's none of those because it still doesn't work yet. So at any rate, it got postponed. And no, I don't. And it's it's possible. And I said to Becky, I said, how can you literally have what should have been a public meeting where you didn't publish it, and all of a sudden it happens, and you say, okay, I don't even know that they postponed it. I believe, without getting Becky in a lot of trouble, I think that it just got pulled. Because apparently, at some point in time, there has been some irritation between the hearing examiner and code enforcement. And I will tell you, one of the things that I heard is that there is no fines going on at Jug Creek, none. And as you well know, they stood in here a month ago and said, oh yeah, we can levy fines. Now, here's the problem. You have to give them a little bit of grace because all they can do is make a recommendation about fines, but the hearing examiner is the one that actually institutes the fines. And this is what I can tell you. Since Peter and I went all the way there on that Monday, on the 20th, we stayed and we watched some of the other violations that came up, and it was almost beyond incredible. Somebody would come up and say, I rebuilt my house. I put a new roof on it. I put an air conditioner on it. I did this, I did that. I put siding on it and all of this stuff. And I didn't know I needed permits. And then the word comes back, well, we don't really want this to be a penalty to you, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make you pay $285 for the court costs for being here today, but you come back, let me check my calendar, in November, in November and update us. And if you're not done, but you're making some progress, we'll figure out another date. So, yeah, I was floored. I was just absolutely floored. And here we are sitting, and that was April 20th, and they're telling them to come back in November and tell them what progress they have made. Exactly, because I will tell you, and this is my personal experience, I was sitting down there in June of last year when they thought they were going to get shut down. They thought they were going to they were walking around with a petition asking us to sign it, and here we are, going on a year later, and nothing has happened. Jonathan.
Along those lines,
You got to speak up, Jonathan. People.
along those lines, it was my understanding through the grapevine that the owners of Jug Creek Restaurant did kind of run around the whole zoning commission and went directly to the county commissioners.
I'm told that is true, that they have done an end around to the Board of County Commissioners and said, we don't want to be fined, and somehow they're not being fined at all.
Not just fine, but just run their operation.
But, you know, I will tell you, you know, I walk out to my mailbox every day and I sort of do this because I'm never quite sure, but the reality is that I'm a firm believer in the fact that Jug Creek filed their original application and it went through a process and they got to a point where they said, we really can't do all of that. And what they were asking to have done, the end game was it was going to the hearing examiner, and that was the end of the story. That was because it's, you know, it had to do with zoning, but it was non-telecommunications, which, as I told you earlier, is the only section in the Land Development Code that says if you're asking about zoning, you can appeal to the Board of County Commissioners. In this case, what they were asking for was zoning changes where it ends with the hearing examiner. Boom, that's it, that's the end of the story. So they pulled that application, and they're now going through a change to a planned development unit, if I'm not mistaken, and that ends with the Board of County Commissioners making the final approval. So they got from stops at the hearing examiner to now it stops at the Board of County Commissioners. And I think that was done intentionally. And I may be dead tomorrow, and if I am, you'll know why.
You are not suicidal, right?
Yeah, yes. Rhonda?
Do you have any updates on the restaurant in Mountain Shade? Come in Mountain Shade, like that short view there on the.
They're still working on getting the land rezoned.
Are they planning to tear the building down now? Okay.
There
I
is
heard
no-
that,
there
so
is
I
no
was.
building.
Yeah, there is.
It's the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, there's a
That
building.
must be one half of it then? Because there's two pieces of property.
Yeah, the one that you're talking about was for parking.
Yes, yes.
I'm talking about the main area where there's a building there.
Yeah,
I had heard that they were going to be tearing it down
Tear-
instead of building up.
right. Yeah, and I think that's true, and they were going to build on the same footprint?
Right.
Right, yeah. But
But
I
I don't know.
haven't seen anything else other than the fact that they're still trying to rezone.
Is that what they're requesting, a rezone?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
There was something about parking too, wasn't there?
Well,
because they were looking, because right now it's zoned for residential or some type of residential.
multi-family.
Right,
something or other.
multifamily, and they're trying to get it rezoned from that to commercial parking so that they can have enough parking for the restaurant.
So, their request is to rezone for commercial, to make that parcel commercial?
Yes,
Yes.
And then they take another step for permitting for
the restaurant.
restaurant?
Yes.
I think that they've already started that part.
Well, the application's in. I know that for certain. And they have to rezone the property somehow to be able to do parking and to actually do the building part of it, the restaurant part of it.
And how are we on that?
Well, I think that's a really good point. I would say that at the meeting where they presented, there was a favorable vote by the people that were here.
That we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that really is a.
That is the process. That is the process. I'm sorry to say. But I would also say one of the things that I noticed, there are two things that I think about that whole thing. One of them is, particularly if you're coming from Burnt Store, the way it's set up now, you know, there's literally mangroves right all the way to the street before you have to turn. So you are literally going to have to slow down to zero and make a right-hand turn into that property. There's no, you know, there's not, you can get off to the side and you can go in. You have to go, it's literally like mangroves right here, and this is the road, and you have to do this to go park. So that means traffic is going to get real slow there. And I think the second thing is just the amount of people that they told me they were going to seat. Unless I have this wrong, I think it was going to be for like 200 people. So,
Are they gonna tear down the mangroves to make more parking?
turn down,
Tear down the mangroves?
I don't think they can. I absolutely don't think they can, and I think part of what may actually be holding them up now is they had done some, and Carol, maybe you even know some of the story, but I think they had taken some mangroves out, and they're making them remediate. So somehow,
It was the folks who, like, I don't know who built the causeway, so I'm just gonna say Manhattan Construction.
yeah,
They were the ones who took out the mangroves and they dumped rocks and what have you there.
oh, okay.
So these people who have the restaurant, they're just coming to town. They're new.
Right.
I mean, even though they lived in Cape Coral, they had nothing to do with that mangrove
Yeah,
situation.
yeah,
So they're trying to fix it.
Fix
with
it.
DEP, and they're not
Right.
even responsible for it.
But that's what ends up happening. We ran into the same situation down in down towards St. James City. The redfish, what do we call it? Aquaculture facility down there. They call it redfish something or other. They bought that property, and I have talked to Megan Sorby, who owns that property and is the president of that property. And Megan, what she told me was they eventually are going to raise redfish down on that piece of property. But when they bought the property, there was so much remediation that they had to do to get it up to code, and that's their responsibility. And that's what they're doing. They're going through doing that, and that's delayed them from actually doing what they want to do with the property. So I suspect we're kind of in the same phase here where somebody, whether it's the property owner or whether it's the people that want to put the restaurant in there, somewhere between them, they're having to do some remediation for the problems that were created. And then,
There's gonna be more problems after that. They can fix whatever problems there are now, but after, if they get started on that restaurant right there and that entrance coming in the gateway of Mount Lachey, it's just gonna be a big mess.
well,
Sorry, that's
yeah, no.
the way I feel about it.
The other thing, too, is, and I have not seen this officially yet, but 3 years ago, the city of Cape Coral was trying to dredge behind D&D all the way out to the Matlacha Bridge. And for whatever reason, we started to pursue this. We actually wrote a letter. We were asking for a meeting. It was a big, big mess because they had people that turned over and we couldn't get a hold of the right people. The city of Cape Coral actually pulled the application. And the application goes to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection or whatever the case might be. But I have read some stuff recently where they're back on that track again. The way I had heard it a couple of years ago was they pulled that application and they were splitting it into 2 applications. And I think part of it was that there is some of that of what they wanted to do was related to Cape Coral. And some of it where we had an argument was, what the heck are you doing dredging all the way out to Matlacha Pass? I mean, that's not Cape Coral. And so I think what I heard and again, a lot of this is only hearsay because I haven't even seen the applications or any of it, that they separated it because they knew that was going to be a bigger fight. And so the stuff that's under their domain, they're like, okay, we can deal with that, and we'll take this other one, we'll make it a separate one, and that'll just be a different fight that's going on. So I don't know. I'm set up so that I get all of the stuff that happens through the FDEP every day from all the counties across the state of Florida, and obviously I just forget about them if they say in Pinellas or Orange or whatever, Duval. But I haven't seen anything come through Lee County, though there has been stuff on Facebook about it. And again, you know, you never know how much stuff on Facebook is the truth, or whether it's just somebody that's sort of motivated to kind of stir the pot.
Sometimes it's on the Cape Coral, someone has copied and reposted it, and it is from Cape Coral, some of the stuff I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it still has not come through, so it appears as if they haven't filed the actual application with the FDEP yet. Because as soon as that gets filed, you know, they send something out and I would know, and I haven't seen anything come through for Lee County yet on that subject. So that's all I got at this stage of the game. If anybody else has any questions. Yeah. Yep. Thanks to all of my team.
Question, we're kind of new here. That cell tower, where's the plan right now to be?
Do you know where the post office is in Bokeelia?
Yes.
Okay. Go across Stringfellow.
Which post office?
The Bokeelia one, not the Pineland one.
Oh, okay, yeah, correct. Okay.
If you go across Stringfellow, there is, on Barrancas, there is a little small palm farm. And then across the street from that is a big barn building. Right next to the palm area is a residential piece of property. And that's what's causing all the variations or variances that they're asking for. Because they're trying to put a 150-foot tower on a 150 by 300 foot lot. And if you know the code basically says your setbacks have to be the height of the tower. So if your property is 150 feet wide, you know, it doesn't work. So they're asking for variances for all of those.
Okay, one more question. What are the main complaints about Jug Creek, is it Jug Creek Marina?
Yeah.
What's the beef with that?
Well, the issue would be how long do you have? Because we could be talking about this at 7:50 tomorrow morning. Yeah, top three, noise. That's the first one. I mean, we got people that live very, very close. They play music till 8, 9 o'clock at night, and you know, I live a mile away and I can hear it. So you can't imagine if you live, you know, 75 feet away and across the water. That's one. Two, a lot of violations. They probably have 6 or 7 violations. We don't believe that they have a liquor license. We don't believe they have a restaurant license. Among other things, they built a chickie and didn't ever get a permit to do that. And as we all know, when they have big events there, and they just hosted the Bobby Holloway tournament there, there's parking all over that area. I mean, they bring in 100, 150 people, and they've got 45 spaces. Yeah, they're parking down Tortuga, they're parking on lots and other people's property, and all kinds of stuff like that. So, and I hate to say it, I actually have friends that lived in Captain's Harbor who wanted to fight this and decided they weren't going to win and are now selling their property, which is shameful, just shameful. So those are the 3 big.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to wrap it up then. Our next meeting is June 2nd, and we will have FWC here, so that, yeah.
Say one thing
Oyster Gardens,
Yeah.
the workshop.
Again, Carol,
June, hold on. June 20th. Oh, it's in my book.
it's an hour and a half of fun. It's hands-on, and kids take it home.
June 20th.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really impressive about one oyster, talk about water quality here a lot, one oyster will filter 50 gallons of water per minute. And when we left, we had a stream about yay tall, with I think probably 25 or 30 half oysters shoveled on. So that little stream is gonna save about 750 gallons of water once the oysters come back. And they're on water stuff, so it's a fun house.
It's only $30.
And stainless steel is extremely well done. It's really a cool thing to do, so if you make it, have fun with it.
Thank you for that announcement.
Thank you. And then July, we will not have a meeting. And then August, we will resume meetings with Calusa Waterkeeper. And then the rest of the year to be advised. So with that, a motion to adjourn? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.